Two teams undefeated in Big Sky Conference play will enter UC Davis Health Stadium on Saturday. Only one will leave. Welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Montana State heads to UC Davis on Saturday for our game of the week. The winner of this top 5 matchup will earn at least a share of the Big Sky Championship. Plus, they'll receive the conference's automatic bid to the FCS playoff. Lots to talk about in this one. And with that, I'd like to bring in head coach of the Aggies, Tim Plough. Coach, UC Davis was named the Stats Perform FCS Team of the Week after your win over Montana. What was your reaction when you found that out?
Yeah, I think obviously really honored to, have our team be recognized in that way. I think our guys have worked really hard. They've had a tremendous season. I'm always happy when they get any type of recognition for that. But I think it's really special when the whole team gets recognized for that. And so it was great to have them on campus. And again, all this is great because it, just puts a spotlight on Davis, the community, and Davis, the university, and our team that's worked so hard. So it was great.
When we spoke a few weeks ago, you felt your team was finally playing at a consistent level and you were hoping to build momentum the back half of this season. How much momentum do you think your Aggies have built going into these final 2 weeks?
I am really pleased with how we've improved. And I feel like we've steadily improved as the season has gone on. And I do think that that's what good teams do. You want to be playing your best football at the end of the season. And I do think we're working towards playing our best football, which we're obviously going to need now. So it's been great to see all 3 phases continue to buy into the process and trying to improve that in their preparation and practice habits. And I think that's led to really good results recently. So I know our guys are feeling really confident. And hopefully we can continue to grow because that's what it's going to take if we want to continue to be successful.
Your team was the FCS Team of the Week. Hunter Ridley was Special Teams Player of the Week for the Big Sky. Jackson Cloyd was Defensive Player of the Week for the Big Sky. You've had success in all 3 phases of the game. What do you think your team's strengths are?
I think the first thing is that we're connected. We're a very connected team. And I think you see that on Saturdays that they pick each other up. They root for each other. They're very focused on the other side of the ball when they're out there. And that's usually a good team. If it's a connected team, they're a good team. I think we compete really well. Whether things are going our way or we're not going our way, our guys thrive in competition and they want to compete against the best. And I think that's the areas that I think I would point at that separate us from other teams.
Coming up, Montana State head coach Brent Vigen joins the show. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, joined now by the head coach of the Montana State Bobcats, Brent Vigen. Coach, 10-0 for the first time in history. I know there's a lot of season left, a lot to still accomplish, but what does that mean to you?
Well, I think, going undefeated this far into the season, I think it speaks to our consistency. I think it speaks to our leadership. Our preparation each week has to be on point, because again, any given Saturday, a team can get in your way and trip you up. So, to get it this far and to not have a blemish, it's significant and it's a credit, I think, to our players and the leadership first and foremost.
Your offense totaled over 600 yards against Sacramento State, over 500 of those yards coming on the ground. How much credit do you need to give your offensive line for the success in the run game this season?
Well, it certainly starts up front. And we've been able to play really 6 guys for the most part through I'd say the last 7 games, rotating at our left guard position. So I think there's a piece to that where we've been able to stay relatively healthy. Those guys play extremely hard. I think they're well coached by Al Johnson. They open big holes. I think that's what shows up each and every week is that, we have really good running backs, but when you're you're able to navigate a pretty big hole and get to the second level, good things can happen.
Of course, your running backs, Scott Trey Humphrey, Adam Jones, have both been having phenomenal seasons. But a couple weeks ago, Julius Davis returned to your lineup. What has he brought to your offense in the short time he's been back?
Julius had a heck of a year last year and, had a tough injury going back to the end of April. So, I think the last couple of weeks has been a transition. But anytime now we can roll out, those three guys, that's pretty significant, especially this deep into the season.
Looking ahead to this week, your matchup with UC Davis. UC Davis held Montana to less than 100 yards on the ground. They lead the Big Sky in interceptions. They've had 2 picks in back-to-back games. What challenges have you seen their defense give other offenses?
Well, I think they're really disciplined. They give, I suppose, a variety of looks, but nothing too crazy. So it's all sound. I think their success starts with their front, as big a front as we've seen. And those guys are hard to move, first and foremost. And, I think the discipline piece is their linebackers, safeties. They're in the right gaps, and they tackle really well. So, we'll have to find a way to create some space, whether that is interior wise or getting out to the perimeter, but they're gonna be where they're supposed to be. I think that's the credit to Davis's defense is, they don't allow big plays.
We've talked about your running backs. Of course, UC Davis has Lan Larison. I've seen him hurdle players in at least 3 games this season, Coach. How do you prepare your guys to defend the potential hurdle that could be coming this week?
Well, I don't think we can be thinking about that on the field. I think the biggest thing with him is you got to take good angles. You got to play with leverage. You got to play with pad level, all those things. And you need to get as many guys there as possible. He's incredibly dangerous in space. Then he's a big guy too, so he can run through an arm tackle. So it's about using proper technique. You like to say we limit the space that he's got to operate in, and when he does, we're just doing things correct on our end.
Efton Chisholm III is a finalist for the FedEx Doris Robinson Scholar Athlete Award. Hear from him next. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Eastern Washington's Efton Chisholm III, who is a finalist for the FedEx Doris Robinson Scholar Athlete Award. Efton, this award is presented to a student athlete in FCS college football who excels on the playing field, in the classroom, and across the community. What does it mean to be a finalist for the Big Sky Conference for this award?
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. But, it means a lot just to know that you're not just seen as a football player, you're seen as a kind of a human being, and you're trying to make a bigger impact off the field. So I think it's awesome just to kind of get recognized and to have my name on that list.
Of course, community service is a criteria for this award. What are some of the community service projects or organizations you've been involved in across Cheney?
Yeah, I mean, in the winter and the spring, we always go to the elementary schools and we kind of hang out with them, either if it's out during their recess time or if it's during their study time. Just go talk to them, get to hang out with them, and then different elementary schools. That's kind of where I do most of it, is just go to different schools and hang out, do whatever I can, just try to make an impact on someone's life while I'm there.
Why is it important to you to spend time with elementary school kids?
I think it's just those kids think we're superheroes, or they think that we're special human beings. So I want to just do everything I can to give them a little extra push on whatever it is. If they're struggling on something, just give them a little bit of motivation to be like, man, I can be like one of these guys one of these days. So just trying to do as much as I can.
You've earned a 3.93 cumulative GPA in health and physical education. What is the secret to having success on the field and in the classroom?
I mean, it really starts with just doing your work and turning it in. I think it kind of goes underrated with doing homework and turning it in. People don't realize, but as a young age, my parents were really on me about grades and turning in my work and making sure everything was done, or I couldn't go to practice, couldn't do sports. So I got to give credit to my parents. But then getting here and all of a sudden you're in college, you got to do it by yourself. I still had my parents' voices in the back of my mind, just making sure I had good grades. So I just kept the foot on the pedal and just kept turning in my work and trying to do the best I could.
You have said that you hope to be mentioned someday in the same sentences as receivers like Cooper Kupp, who also graduated from Eastern Washington. How does being a finalist for this award add to your legacy there?
It does a little bit. It does a lot, actually. I'm not taking it for granted. I think it's an awesome award. I'm very blessed and honored that, I'm in the finalists for it, and hopefully that people will see that, and that legacy and what I'm trying to do here will mean a little more after this.
2 games left in an Eagles uniform. What has your time in Cheney and this program meant to you?
Yeah, it's meant everything. And I really truly believe that. I really mean it. I wouldn't go back and change a thing. I know it's going to be an emotional 2 weeks. I'm already ready for it. I was already emotional last week, but coming out of a small school, small town, Monroe, and then given the opportunity to play here and not knowing how it was going to go and then having it go the way it went, it really was a blessing. Can't thank my teammates, my coaches, and everyone that's been here enough. So I'm very blessed and very thankful.
After the break, Sacramento State goalkeepers Izzy Palmatier and Sierra Sonko are here to discuss their improbable run to a Big Sky Soccer championship. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by a couple of Big Sky Soccer champions, Sierra Sonko and Izzy Palmatier, 2 goalkeepers for Sacramento State. Ladies, Izzy, I'll go to you first. How would you describe your improbable run to the Big Sky Championship?
People say it's improbable statistically, but knowing the character of this team and just our connections with each other, how much we've been thinking about this since even before the beginning of our season, it makes sense that it happened.
I still can't put words to it. It's still super surreal. We were working so hard for this, and we were put at the 5th seat, and I honestly went into it and I was like, let's just try as hard as we can, get whatever we can. And I was cheering on my teammates from the bench. So I feel it feels pretty good to have a medal on my neck, I don't know. It's pretty.
Sierra, you just said cheering on your teammates from the bench. You were named the Big Sky Soccer Tournament MVP without playing a single minute of regulation or extra time. How did you stay focused on the sideline when getting ready for penalty kicks?
Honestly, I'm always locked into the game. I'm always cheering on my teammates, watching them make a crazy tackle. I'm in there, I'm always locked into the game. And then I was just counting on my other goalkeeper, Izzy, to lock it down for us and keep that shutout going. And we ended up going into PK, so I just had to lock in.
Izzy, Sierra was talking about watching you hold it down during regulation time. But what was it like watching Sierra as she's in goal for penalty kicks? And at that point, you've done all that you can do.
Yeah. I would say it's rewarding for me to see her in that spot because I know how hard she works and even in practice, right, we talked about it, her making those saves, and it's just all right, bro, this is your moment. You go do it. I'm fully cheering you on. I got your back. Go do your thing.
Sierra, you saved 6 of those 18 penalty kicks across all 3 shootouts. Why are you so effective under that kind of pressure?
I don't know. I feel I'm just a chill person in general. I just was okay, let's see what I could do. I kind of already know my routine and stuff for PK. So I was just keep that in your head. You've always been good at this. Just keep that in your head. You got it, And we weren't PKs is last case scenario. So I had to remember in the back of my head. My mom was even telling me, she's if you she was if you end up going to PKs again, don't worry about it because this is the last case scenario. Just try your best. So I just was keep my mom's words in my head and stuff, and I just did what I could.
You were the conference's representative for the NCAA tournament. There was video of you all at the airport on Monday watching and learning that you'll be playing USC on Sunday. How are you feeling about that matchup?
So excited. To also be in the LA Galaxy Stadium is going to be really cool. I think it's just going to be an awesome opportunity, and we're going to take this week to prepare for it.
I'm just super excited. We get the NCAA coin, and I have some friends that play over there, so I get to say hi to them. But after the game, of course. But I'm just excited to see, just experience being in the tournament. That's just an opportunity that's slim. So I'm just super excited.
Still to come, voice of the Bobcats, Keaton Galogly, joins the show for Game Picks. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Crossover season is here, which means we have a lot of Olympic sports in action. Here's what's going on around the Big Sky. Sacramento State won all 3 of their games in shootouts to claim the 2024 Big Sky Soccer Championship. This weekend, they will play number 1 seed Southern California in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Sacramento State volleyball also pulled off an upset over the weekend. The Hornets swept conference-leading Northern Colorado to hand the Bears their first loss since September. Weber State improved to 9-3 in conference play after taking down Idaho State 3-1. The Wildcats are third in the Big Sky with 2 weeks left in the regular season. From the volleyball court to the basketball court, Dan Monson earned his first win as the head coach of Eastern Washington after beating Seattle University 93-86. On the women's side, a career night for Montana State's Ella Johnson lifted the Bobcats to a 73-63 victory over Troy. That's what happened this week around the Big Sky. With me now is Keaton Gillogly, the voice of the Montana State Bobcats. Keaton, for the first time in program history, the Bobcats are 10-0. What was it like being on the call last week for that history-making game?
Yeah, it was fun. It happened pretty fast. Montana State really came out running and kind of just didn't really stop. But it was a lot of fun, and you could tell there was a different level in the crowd. And, Montana State has just kind of stayed so focused on what's directly in front of them. Now, what's in front of them is stuff that has never been done in 120 years of playing Bobcat football.
You called the brawl last season. You called the history-making game last weekend. This weekend, they are playing UC Davis for a share, at least, of the Big Sky title. What's the most exciting part of calling games where there is so much at stake?
These games are honestly the easiest to call. There's just so much. The storylines are so thick. They go so deep. The crowd is going to be really there and exciting. And the fun part about calling a game like this is you don't need to be flowery. You don't need to be over the top descriptive. You don't need to do anything special. You can just kind of really let the game breathe and be the show and let the crowd be the show. And all you have to say is there's a Big Sky title on the line. And that is going to resonate with everybody across the Treasure State and really Big Sky country.
How many Big Sky teams do you think will be in the playoffs in 2 weeks when that final bracket is set?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of to be determined on the field coming down the stretch. Obviously, I think Montana State, UC Davis, Montana looking good. Idaho looks very good in terms of what they're going, depending on the what's going on with Jack Lane, their quarterback there. But it really is going to come down for NAU. Just what are they going to look like these last couple of weeks? I feel like they're really the true bubble team right now. They were right there with Montana in Montana. They were right there with Idaho at Idaho with the injury to their quarterback. I think when you kind of dig a little deeper and you look at the eye test that NAU has put together, there's a lot of good things there. So if they continue to show up, show out, show what they can be, what their ceiling is, and show that they are hot going into these final 2 games and going into that Selection Sunday, then I think they've got a good chance. And I think it's really good for the league when we get to see a first-year head coach in Brian Wright, first-year head coach in Tim Plow over at UC Davis, doing really good things in this conference. That's great for the health of the conference, both short-term and long-term. So there's a great shot to get 5 if these guys continue to perform like we know they can on the field.
Well, let's kind of make some picks of what we think is going to happen this weekend on the field. We'll start with Portland State heading to Montana. Who do you think wins this one?
As I take a look at this game, the other part is how good is this Montana defense? They struggled at the beginning of the year, put together a good stretch against some teams who are in the bottom half of the standings in the Big Sky, and then gave up 30 points to UC Davis, but they did hang a couple of 3-and-outs there. So how good does this Montana defense play, and what does Dante Chachere do? And my pick's going to be Dante Chachere taking care of business, and I think Portland State's going to find a way to get this win behind a fine senior performance by one of the great quarterbacks in this league.
Another team hoping for an upset this week is, of course, Weber State over Idaho. Who do you like in this one?
When I look at this game, I think Idaho is going to get it done, and I think they're going to grab an early lead, and I think they're going to control the clock like they love to do. And I think Idaho finds a way to get this win, and I think at the end of the day, they find themselves with a bye in that first round of the playoffs.
Finally, our game of the week, Montana State heading to UC Davis. The winner of this one gets at least a share of the Big Sky title. Who wins this one?
One of the really interesting questions is, what's that final score going to be? Like, how many points you're going to need to win this game? I'd probably put the over-under probably around 32, 35, kind of in that range. I think at the end of the day, the experience the Bobcats have had in big games time and again is going to be what kind of shines through here. And I think Montana State finds a way to get it done in what's going to be a really, really tight game on Saturday.
Great couple couple final weeks of Big Sky football coming up. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate all your insight, and enjoy UC Davis this weekend.
Yes, will do. Thank you, Megan. Can't wait.
At least a share of the conference championship plus the Big Sky automatic qualifier to the FCS playoffs on the line this weekend. Saturday night is going to be fun. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I'll see you all next week for the regular season finale.